talk about a lot of political things, but underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of it is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.
It's a success story if you're in the White House right now, the stock market is, and you can see it right here. Okay, S&P 500 shifts at this point in a presidency. You know, coming into today at the close of yesterday, look at this, up 19%. That is higher than the average president since 2001, when it was up 15%, and way, way higher than the average presidency since 1961, up 6%. So this stock market has been up like a rocket, and no wonder the president of the United States wants to talk about it. And you'll also notice, Johnny B., when the stock market is up, perhaps Democrats don't want to talk about it nearly as much.
All right. So what are people saying about whether or not it's actually a good time to be in the market?
Yeah, okay. I think one of the reasons why this number is up, this percentage is up, is pretty simple. Just take a look here. Stock owners who say that investing $1,000 into the market right now is a good idea. You see the majority of them, 52%, say it's a good idea. I will even note that even 41% of Democrats or lean Democrats who are in the stock market currently say it's a good idea to continue to invest in the stock market. So no wonder the market is up at this particular point, because those who are in it say, hey, it's a good idea to keep investing.
Blockade is extending far beyond just the Middle East. CENTCOM says so far 31 ships have been turned away or blocked because of this blockade. And new this morning, we now know that 3 of those ships were Iranian oil tankers that were blocked in Asian waters thousands of miles away from the Strait of Hormuz. And one of those ships included an Iranian supertanker with 2 million barrels of crude oil on board. Now, these 3 interceptions come days after the U.S. boarded and seized 2 other ships. The U.S. is targeting Iran-linked oil tankers. It's costing Iran's economy about $500 million a day. The White House says it's prepared to continue this blockade for as long as needed. President Trump tells Fox there is no rush and no time frame to end the war.
We're waiting to hear back from the Iranian regime. The fact that they cannot send a unified message yet, which is why the president decided to extend the ceasefire, just shows how effective Operation Epic Fury truly was, because there's a lot of internal division over there. The president understands that, and so we await their response. Well, the president, the cards are in his hands. The United States maintains control over the situation. He has all of the leverage.
With this announcement, 17 of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies, representing 80% of the branded drug market, have now agreed to sell their drugs to American patients at the lowest prices anywhere in the world. We're going to have the lowest prices in the world. This will result in the largest drop in prescription drug prices in the history of the United States of America. I mean, it should be front page news, but it won't be.
Financial disclosures had said the estate of Omar and her husband, Tim Minett, jumped from being in debt to somewhere between $6 million and $30 million in 2024. They amended their financial disclosure and released it to show the estate is really somewhere between $18,000 and $95,000. They blame the discrepancy, as much as $29 million, on an accountant who did not subtract the liabilities of Minett's businesses. And this is the same congresswoman who championed the Meals Act. That was the COVID relief program intended to provide food for poor kids suffering during the pandemic. Republicans say that created the pathway for the Feeding Our Future scandal, a $250 million boondoggle of meals billed but never provided. A restaurant at the center of the scandal was the Safari restaurant. Omar held campaign events there. One of the owners, Salem Ahmed Saeed, was convicted for his role in the scandal. The Republican chair of the House Fraud Committee made repeated requests for Omar to show up. No response from Omar.
It's just another example of disrespecting.
Hi, Leader Jeffrey. It's good to see you. Just curious to get your thoughts on Ilhan Omar's financial disclosure. Does all of the scrutiny around that concern you at all, and does that warrant an official House ethics investigation?
That issue has not been brought to my attention, but we do know that Ilhan Omar, who works hard on behalf of the people that she represents in Minnesota, is constantly under attack by right-wing conspiracy theorists.
Well, what about her net worth going from $30 million to now under $100,000? Do you believe that's truly an accounting error, as she alluded to?
That's not an issue that I'm familiar with.
What about her winery? that she is now dissolving from her financial disclosure?
We're working to stop this reckless war of choice in the Middle East, get the economy back on track, win this gerrymandering war that Donald Trump started that we're going to finish. It's not an issue that I've been locked in on up to date.
Mr. President, you said that you might denaturalize some American citizens. Can you talk about...
You mean people that are in here that shouldn't be here?
That became Americans. Are you trying
Well, we'll see. If we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized maybe through a Biden or somebody that didn't know what they were doing. If I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, but if I do, I would denaturalize absolutely.
All right, Thursday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. As always, be blessed in the mighty name of Jesus. Remember, tomorrow night, live only on Instagram at 8 p.m. for the Bible study. It's way more than a normal Bible study. It's interactive. Also, we're setting it up so it's even more and more interactive every time, so we'll be able to talk back and forth a lot. But anyway, let me say to everybody in the chat, I'm starting right here at the bottom, so it is scrolling hard right now. Auntie Mama is on. USA Abby Girl is on. Jeannie Malfeasy is on. I just want to say thanks to everybody who stuck with me here during this tumultuous MAGA time. Guitar Glenn is on. JD Joy is on. Scooter Magruder is on. Wisconsin Honey Badger is on. Linesmanson is on. Granite 2468 is on. Let me see. JGCK is on. Robin Aroni is on. Let me see here. Scrolling down. Peg McGroin is on. Big Jim Go Blue is on. Mike Griffith is on. K4 VMS is on. Captain Cliff is on. Skunk 71 is on. Let me see here. Scrolling down. Let me see. Somebody I haven't seen yet. Here we go. LA 106 Times is on. Deb Pal Fitty is on. Clean Sanchez is on. 23 Justin Blake is on. Let me see. Aphrodite's is on. Day Now 59 is on. KJ King 55 is on. Scrolling down. Patrina C is on. Snag Dog is on. Let me see here. Somebody I haven't seen yet here. Agravane is on. Keeper 1376 is on. Thunderbolt is on. Let me grab a couple more. Let me see here. Scrolling down. David Graves is on. Uncle Wally is on. Spoken 007 is on. Let me grab one more. DC 941 is on. Wait, there's another one. Boot Waters is on. Love you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. A couple things here before I go into this. I only have one slide on Iran tonight. Thank goodness. We can all just be thankful for that. This is a Piers Morgan versus Dershowitz thing. But anyway, just to make a point. But anyway, there's not a whole lot new to report. The only things new to report on Iran is that Trump keeps claiming that they're in peace negotiations and Iran claiming they're not going on. That's what keeps happening. I mean, that's all that's really happening in Iran is that Iran is saying, well, this is a war of attrition. We're fine waiting forever. Trump is saying they have no time. Iran is saying there's nobody here. We're not meeting with anybody. And Trump is saying that we're sending a delegation to meet. I have no idea. I mean, what's happening with this at all? Embargoes costing Iran allegedly $500 million a day, but yet they seem to be doing okay, I guess. Who knows? It's hard to tell because there's no cameras inside of Iran. So who knows what's happening? Why are we there? And we'll get to that in just a minute. And that, of course, will be more inherently negative towards Trump. And I just wanted to cover something. First of all, you saw on the pregame via Harry Enton and CNN, you're seeing the stock market through the roof. So, and S&P has done really well. Everything's doing pretty well. But, and I want to just say that because I have never been one of those who is now, because I'm against the Iran war, going to now black pill every last thing that Trump does. No, everything, you need to be an honest broker. As an example, you have the reflecting pool in D.C. where you've had all the big speeches. And by the way, Trump has also hired more, before I even get to that, before I forget, Trump has now hired more air traffic controllers than basically anybody in history. So he's doing really good things here. I mean, it really is. And it's just a shame that it all gets besmirched. And it really does. It literally it's literally like having a beautiful house with a skunk in it. Yeah. And it's just beautiful with the Iran thing. It really is, because there's a lot of good things. Terrible on the debt, but part of the reason why he's terrible on the debt was the debt started going up a lot faster when the Iran war began, because we're spending $2 billion a day, $2 to $3 billion a day over there. But I mean, you have an embargo of a country when you're blockading a country, very, very expensive, okay? Very, very expensive. But anyway, so the reflecting pond, what's really interesting about this is it's very, very similar to the Fed, where you had Jerome Powell with the Fed. Remember, this is nothing that benefits any human being. This is nothing that benefits even, one United States citizen. You're talking about the remodeling of the Fed building. Jerome Powell had it at $4 billion. Remember, to build the stadium in Las Vegas, Allegiant or whatever it is.
Yeah.
$2 billion to build the football stadium. And just the remodeling of the Fed building is $4 billion. Trump said it was more of a $25 million renovation. And the same thing here happened with the reflecting pond, or whatever they call it. The government had it at a 3-year. What's going on with it? It's just all moldy, nasty, and leaking big time, so you keep having to pour all kinds of water into it. So you had the government assigned. Everyone just needs to understand, everything's a lie. Everything's fraudulent. Everything is to benefit the very few people that live in Washington, D.C. that are our ruling elite. They're not ruling, but that's what they think they are. And that's why, again, it's going to contracts and attorneys and everything else to pay themselves. And I'll never understand it, because if you're going to bankrupt the system that's paying you, and you're going to bankrupt the system that gives you your money that you'll have in the bank, when the system goes bankrupt, you no longer get any money, and all the money that you have in the bank is worthless. I never get these people. I never get it. So you'd think you'd want to fix the system, but they don't. They just keep on extracting. They just want to keep extracting from it. So Trump comes in, just like he did with the ice rink in New York City, which couldn't be fixed. For years and years and years, nobody could fix the ice rink in New York City. Trump comes in and fixes it in like a couple months. Because it's somebody outside of the realm of bureaucratic idiocy. So same thing here. So you have the government estimate. Well, let's get this now. $300 million, taking 3 years to fix it. We're talking about, it's just gross, it's gotten all moldy, and it's leaking. It was built in 1922, and nobody's done anything with it since. Shocking, right? And by the way, Donald Trump is cleaning up Washington, D.C. It's going to be soon a place where you'd like to visit again, instead of a place where you're going to get murdered on the street. And he really is. Crime's way down. I mean, and he's doing a great job there, because he can do that without any congressional blockades, without Congress getting in the way. But anyway, so you have the government estimate was $300 million in 3 years, because they're going to go down. This is built out of granite. That's what it's built. They're going to pull up all the granite, and I guess replace it with some other stones. They're going to pull up all the granite. Trump goes in. They drained it. He had his pool experts come in, because that's what it is. It's a giant pool. So his pool experts come in, as he framed it. He said, people who don't do anything else but pools can't do anything else but pools. He goes in. They just clean all the granite and then seal it. $1.5 million in 2 weeks. And then they seal it with a sealant that is a navy-ish colored blue. Oh no, American flag blue. That's what it is. American flag blue. It's going to be better than ever. 2 weeks, $1.5 to $2 million instead of 3 years and $300 million. That is it. Now, by the way, that's Republicans and Democrats, folks. And again, I'm a registered Republican. Unless there's a real third party conservative option, I'm not going anywhere. But all these people, it's as Mike Benz calls it, it's an establishment blob. It's Republicans and Democrats. $40 trillion in debt, $188 trillion in unfunded liabilities, mainly government pensions. I can't say mainly, but a big chunk is government pensions. That's what our real debt is, $188 trillion, folks. We bring in $4 to $5 trillion per year in tax revenue. Our debt is $188 trillion. Each trillion is worth 1,000 billions. Just keep this in mind. But nobody cares, because they're enriching themselves, I guess, until the Titanic goes down, until the rats can no longer leave the ship. So that's the greatness of Trump. It really is the greatness of Trump. If I get to the border section tonight, you'll see more greatness of Trump. Here's the downside. Piers Morgan, uncensored video. That's the oldest anti-Semitic trope that there is. This is Dershowitz versus Piers Morgan on why we ever got into the Iran war to begin with. Play for me.
Israel hasn't really influenced the United States. The United States has much more influenced the activities, even the self-defense activities of Israel.
But Alan, I would say, I just don't think that's right when it comes to the Iran war, because we know from the big New York Times deep dive last week that Benjamin Netanyahu, on his 7th or 8th trip to the White House in a matter of months, sat in the Situation Room at the White House with the head of Mossad joining on the big screen and sold Donald Trump the idea that there was a chance to decapitate the leadership in Iran, and that as a result, the IRGC would collapse from within, the people would rise up, and they'd all be too distracted to even think about the Strait of Hormuz. Well, the first bit happened, and there's no doubt the Americans, I think, joined in at the behest of Netanyahu, because we heard it come out of Marco Rubio's mouth. He said the reason American forces preemptively struck in Iran.
Then he withdrew that.
But I tend to believe what the Secretary of State in America says publicly when he's first asked, rather than when he's told what he should be saying.
I do too, but it's a more nuanced story.
But Alan,
the Prime Minister of Israel doesn't tell Israel what to do.
Hang on. Yeah. But Marco Rubio is not a stupid man. He's probably the most competent person in that entire cabinet.
He knew what he was saying.
I
think he's terrific.
He made it. Yeah. Right. So we're all agreed he's brilliant. So a brilliant man does not say the opposite of what he actually believes. And he said to us clearly on camera that America preemptively struck in Iran because Israel had told them that they were going to attack Iran, and they knew that if that happened, Iran would attack American interests. So they got in first.
That's a question of timing. That's a question of timing.
Yeah, but it's also a question of who is pulling the strings.
Timing was determined.
It's a question of who's.
Well,
but it's also about who's pulling the strings.
That's the oldest anti-Semitic trope in history, that Israel's pulling, that the Jews are pulling the strings. Nobody tells Trump what to do.
So you see Joe Kent smirking over there because Joe Kent's right and Dershowitz is wrong. And Aaron, of course, with his observations, which are always good, by the way, he says you look at Dershowitz, who's got a co-American flag, Israel flag, as a man born, raised, and everything else in America.
Yeah.
I mean, can anybody explain that to me? I mean, listen, I'm Irish German. What do you see? What flag do I have on my chest? Again, I've never once been tempted to wear a German flag or an Irish flag. I'm Irish German. That's it. I don't know if there's anything else in me but that. So, and I've never been tempted. I've never once been tempted ever to wear any other flag. But here you have Dershowitz, who just converted to Republican. And it's funny. I mean, pro-choice. I mean, he was the one who actually said you could pin people down and force them to take the vaccination. Remember that? We could play it.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so you have Dershowitz, and he said a lot of good things. Been pro-Trump on all of Trump's lawsuits and criminal proceedings. He was on Trump's side and everything else. It is a brilliant man, but he's lying here. And let's go back to front. So how did it end? Dershowitz accusing Piers Morgan of using an anti-Semitic trope by saying the words pulling the strings. So if you say America first, by the way, if you say, no, it is America first. Yeah. If you say America first, that's an anti-Semitic trope, according to the ADL. And pulling the strings is, according to Dershowitz, the oldest anti-Semitic trope. So if you accuse anybody connected with Israel of pulling any strings, I mean, you couldn't say that AIPAC is pulling any strings or anything, could you?
No.
I mean, you couldn't say that Miriam Adelson is pulling any strings. I mean, she only gave $250 million to the president.
Right.
I mean, right? I mean, again, that wouldn't, I mean, so but anything is, so if I say pulling the strings towards anybody else, it's not anti-Semitic, but if I say it towards anybody remotely connected to Israel, it is anti-Semitic. Does everybody see this? And I know that I'm primarily preaching to the choir, but this should wake everybody up, okay? I mean, to see who's behind all these things, the same people that pimped and hoarded the vaccine. It's kind of funny. I mean, we were talking about this before the show started. I think it was Will and I were talking about it. Where here we are on day 56 of this war, and we keep being told that it was over, just like we were told 15 days to flatten the curve. And I'm just wondering, are they going to go to 60 days of war? Just like they went from 50 days to flatten the curve to 60 days to flatten the curve. And then it went on forever for 3 years. Remember that? It's all the same people, including Trump. Trump did not do well on COVID. It cost him the election in 2016. Cost him. He did not do well. He listened to Anthony Fauci. He listened to Deborah Birx. He listened to Francis Collins. He listened to all those people. He should have been listening to Scott Atlas, but he wasn't. Okay, again, people, it doesn't mean now that every last thing, because Trump does bad on that he does. I voted for him to be reelected in 2020 with Operation Warp Speed percolating in the background. I still voted for him. I'm certainly not black-pilled on that. So anyway, they go over how this actually occurred. It's really funny. So you have this meeting with Mossad in the room via Zoom call. Mossad is in the room, folks, with Donald J. Trump, with Netanyahu. I believe it's Netanyahu's, I think it was his, I can't remember what they said, 12th, 15th, 17th, whatever visit it was to the White House. But there's no strings being pulled, right? I mean, I mean, who else is going to who else? Aaron, see if you can find that for me. Just go, how many times has Netanyahu visited the Trump White House? Just go right to Grok. It'll kick it out. But anyway, because I want to get that number. But anyway, so you have this meeting, and in this, you have like literally right behind me is an LED wall, right? So there you have Mossad on an LED wall in the meeting room, zooming in, right? So you have Mossad. You have Benjamin Netanyahu telling Trump this is going to take 4 days. What day are we on? 56. It's going to take 4 days. And again, how many more times are people on the MAGAs? I don't care about the Democrats. Who cares? We know. It's like Paul says in 1 Corinthians 5:3 and 5:12. You judge those 6 times he's come to the White House, 6 times in person to the White House. I mean, Trump's only been in office since January 20th, 2025. He's been there 6 times to the White House, okay? I forgot what I was talking about. But anyway, what was the last thing I said? Do you guys remember?
Talking about Paul.
Oh, yeah, Paul. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Yep. So, yeah. So, I don't care about the Democrats. Thank you, Aaron. That was great because that was gone. It was gone. 1 Corinthians, I think it's 5:3 and 5:12. Paul says he judges, and he judges those inside the church. And judgment begins in the house of God. So, you don't sit there and I'm not calling the Republicans the house of God. I'm just saying you start with judging the people in your own circles. That's what you do. All right. You don't judge those outside. I don't care about them. They're basically, just zombie apocalypse people. They're walking around, and to me, they're just zombie apocalypse people. They're gone. They're lost causes. I'm not talking about for salvation or spiritual things, but they're just lost causes. And a lot of them are. Nobody's lost to Jesus. You can always be one, but they're just lost causes. But anyway, so that's where what really bugs me is how many more times are Republicans going to fall for it? And they fall for it now because Trump is saying it. It doesn't matter whether it's Trump or anybody else. We don't belong over there. It's not our fight. And we're promised 4 days. 4 days. Because when Netanyahu said they're going to crumble in 4 days, they're going to turn on themselves, they're going to kill themselves, and there's going to be a color revolution inside of Iran. Aaron, check on the color revolution inside of Iran. How's it going?
Let me see. It's not happening.
It's not happening.
Yep.
There's one. And by the way, is 4 days more or less than 56? Okay, so here we are again. And then there's still people out there defending it. And what really bugs me more than anything, it really bugs me, is that I was watching I think it was the Turning Point thing. Maybe it wasn't, but it had Benny Johnson on it. And what really bugs me about it is Benny Johnson's made some good definitive comments, but then when asked in person, face-to-face, by somebody, and this is a known podcaster. I don't know his name. I never watched any of his stuff. But he got up. He asked the podcaster asked Benny Johnson a very cogent question about Israel and Israel's influence, and Benny Johnson buckles. I mean, you don't have to be an anti-Semite, okay? And I know the whole anti-Semite thing and who's really the Semites. I'm not going to get into that argument tonight. Okay, none of that matters to me. Right now, anti-Semite means anti-Jew for the sake of the discussion.
Right.
And I know the Bilzerian side of that and he's probably right about who's Semites and who's not. But I'm just saying, right now, anti-Semite means anti-Jew. He didn't ask him to be anti-Semite. He just said, I mean, how can anybody deny Israel influence when you have AIPAC? And just about 90% of Congress and the Senate have an AIPAC representative assigned to them. I mean, how can you deny it? And $250 million given by Miriam Adelson to Donald Trump in this election, not to mention the 2016 election. So you just have to acknowledge it. So this was all a joke. And then they go into the whole Rubio thing. How Rubio comes out, and I thought Piers Morgan called him out, because here is Dershowitz. Rubio's brilliant. He's so smart, but he comes out and says the wrong thing. He comes out and just makes up the reason why we got into the war, which was we got into the war because we were afraid that Israel was going to strike first. So we wanted to strike first so that we could protect ourselves. So Piers Morgan brings that up. And what does Dershowitz say? Well, Then he changed. How do you honestly, as a human being, present that as an argument? I mean, if you're gonna be like allegedly a man of the court, a man of integrity, how do you present that as an argument? I mean, well, then he changed. Of course he changed, Alan. I mean, you're gonna actually say that then he changed gives that change credibility? Or gives this new statement credibility or validity? Because then he changed? As if the original statement wasn't right when it was right? And he says, well, then it's just a question of timing. It had nothing to do with timing. It had nothing to do with timing. If Israel was never going to attack, then according to Marco Rubio, we would never attack. So why exactly? I mean, how is it a question of timing? So you just see how it's all crap, folks. It's all crap. And you have the same person who wanted to pin people down and force them to take vaccination in support of the war with his duo American Israel flag. Nobody should have a duo American Israel flag, including in churches, by the way. Ridiculous. All right, change the subjects. Let's go to the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center. Man, it's percolating. It's coming up now. It's coming. Greatness of Trump here. There it was. All my attack went greatness of Trump, attack Trump. Now back to the greatness of Trump. And do I believe that Todd Blanche is actually vehemently going after the SPLC? Probably not. And he'll probably try to sabotage it. Sadly, it's just the state of where we're at right now. But right now, obviously, Southern Poverty Law Center basically has been the equivalent of Adolf Hitler in America. What they do is they go around and they label people haters. Horrible people like Matt Walsh hates people, is a racist or a misogynist. They put labels on people as, hateful people, and they publish a list. And the sad thing about it is it's an extortion scheme, an Avenatti sort of extortion scheme, a Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson extortion scheme, where they'll go and say, hey, you know that such and such a person that you're about to go into business with, he's on the Southern Poverty Law Centers. They make themselves, again, it's all inverted. Southern Poverty Law Center has nothing to do with law or poverty or even being a center. It has nothing to do with Southern either. But they're just an extortion site. They go to people and say, the people that you're about to go into business with, they're on the Southern Poverty Law Center hater list. So people pull back from them and debank them and everything else. People have been debanked. People have probably been killed because of this. And now it turns out that they may have been behind the entire Charlottesville hoax. The whole good people on both sides Trump hoax that Biden decided to run on, which was, imagine being Joe Biden, you decide to run for president because Donald Trump said there was good people on both sides. That's why he said he's running for president. And was already debunked via numerous videos that he said both people, that there are good people on both sides. And I'm not talking about the Nazis. But by the way, who were the Nazis there? Were they actually gay actors? That could very well be, by the way. Let's get into this. Megyn Kelly's show. Here's Megyn Kelly with Russell Brand. Charlottesville was a false flag run by Southern Poverty Law Center. Operatives who hired actors to pose as Nazis. Play it for me.
And still is. Alex Jones. Okay, back in August of 2017. Charlottesville was a false flag run by Southern Poverty Law Center operatives who hired actors to pose as Nazis. Fucking the guy there. I could give you so many of these by Alex Jones. After we did my interview with him, where it did get contentious, but I spent days with him. He said so many things. They sounded crazy, Russell. We went back to the NBC fact-checking machine, which is good. NBC's biased, but they're not reckless generally when it comes to like their reporting. Don't get me wrong. I understand what happened with Russiagate, and I'm not talking about MSNBC. I'm talking about NBC. They all came back true. Everybody's like, he's a lunatic. He says the frogs are turning gay and they're turning transgender. We're like, he's a nutcase. True. It was amazing. The Sandy Hook stuff was very, very wrong and untrue. Must be said again.
What about Charlottesville and the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally? Were they involved in that?
Yes. So what we allege in the indictment and what the grand jury found is that one of the individuals that they paid was one of the folks who helped organize that terrible event. And so so imagine what we're talking about, Laura. We're talking about an organization that actively came out and just screamed it from the top of their lungs.
So just so people understand watching this, did these informants in some cases, given the evidence you've seen, actually initiate what would ultimately be these activities? And obviously Charlottesville ended with a tragedy.
Well, we know that they were part of those. They were part of it. Whether they were the leaders or the initiators, that'll come out, I think, eventually.
So there you go. And now you're seeing it. I told you, everything's a lie. Everything's a lie. I mean, we would all expect this to be a Democratic Party lie, but did we all know that the entire thing was probably orchestrated by the Southern Poverty Law Center, which, by the way, you go back and easily find it right now on Twitter. I think Alex Jones has actually posted it. But anyway, Alex Jones said it years ago. These were gay actors hired to be Nazis. Did you see the picture that was above Todd Blanche and Laura Ingraham? They look like a bunch of gay men holding tiki torches. Who would, by the way, what Nazi would you know that would show up with a tiki torch that you buy at Walmart? There, look at them. I mean, that looks like a bunch of gay men, does it not? It looks like, who's going to show up with tiki torches? I mean, you're going to be, if you're going to be a Klansman, you're going to show up with a real torch. You're not going to go buy tiki torches that's running on citric oil. At least we're running off the skeeters. I mean, again, it's just, everything is performative. And I'm talking about, and then again, Republicans are more innocent than Democrats, but oftentimes they're intertwined in the corruption. But anyway, so this just shows you what the entire thing could have been was funded by Democrats. Did they orchestrate even the violence that was there? Did they orchestrate the violence on J6? It would appear that they did. I mean, J6, we all know these things. It's all fake. So now we're just seeing who it is that's actually orchestrating these things. All right, so that's it on that. Let's go to this one. Now, we know Scott Presler, the persistence, he is activating against John Cornyn in the Texas Senate race. We got to elect Ken Paxton. If there's anybody that's actually legitimate, it's Ken Paxton. Am I going to espouse that he's going to stay legitimate? I've learned to jump off that train. Okay, every time I think that this person is pure and great and everything else, you let you down. But anyway, but he is activating against John Cornyn. Now, I don't usually show videos like this because this entire video is in Spanish. It's only a couple seconds, but it's in Spanish. But it was done in Spanish by John Cornyn to speak in favor of open borders. That's John Cornyn. He's advocating for open borders in the videos, for dreamers and everything else. It's all open borders in my mind. I'm not saying necessarily he's talking about opening the gates, but he's fine with open borders, actual open borders. But anyway, this is a race that has to be won by us. John Cornyn is the very essence of the problem. He needs to be retired from the Senate and never be a part of Republican politics again because he's not a Republican. Again, it all gets down to definitions like who's MAGA right now? Well, MAGA right now is Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham. So that whole definition has been shot. But I'm talking about true Republican platformism. That's what I'm talking about. A true Republican, a true conservative. He's not. And that's the problem with it. Again, it's like Biden crime statistics. Well, we've dropped violent crime 12%, but we're not reporting 44% of it. So the rules have all been changed. It's just like all of Biden's border stats, where we're only allowing in this many, but the count only starts at this count, at this number. We're only allowing in 5,000 a day, but the count doesn't start until we've already allowed in 5,000. It's all a matter of what the definition is when you use the word now. What's the definition of love now? Again, I preached about that. What is loving? Well, it's in the Bible. God is love. But anyway, so here's the persistence video. This is an unearthed video from Cornyn's team from just a few years ago where he advocates for open borders. Play it for me.
Cuidándonos, el senador John Cornyn. El senador Cornyn ha luchado para detener el tráfico sexual, especialmente a lo largo de la frontera. Él apoya la reforma policial. Y mientras el senador Cornyn está a favor de fronteras seguras, él apoya firmemente la legalización de los Dreamers.
I'm John Cornyn, and I approve this message.
So now you know this is the guy who wants red flag laws, he wants gun confiscation, he wants open borders. How is he a Republican? How is Lindsey Graham a Republican? How are many Republicans Republicans? They're not. They are actually rhinos, Republican in name only. The name means nothing now. It's what you legislate. I wish we could have a third party. I really do. So let's go to this one. Hopping all over the place right now. Just short, quick hitters here. Here we go again. This was the guy that was on the missing list a couple days ago that we played on the show. Weird, isn't it? Weird. He was missing. 29-year-old NASA nuclear propulsion engineer, high up at 29, and he'd already been there for 5 years, who was reported missing, found dead, burned in a burned-out Tesla wreck. You can leave this up for me. Here's the article from the Gateway Pundit. Another death is resurfacing amid renewed attention in what is becoming an alarming and disturbing pattern of quote-unquote accidental deaths involving America's top nuclear and aerospace scientists. A 29-year-old NASA engineer specializing in nuclear propulsion technology was found burned beyond recognition, Aaron. Inside his, how often does that happen? Okay, 25 years of law enforcement. I never worked a crash where someone was burned beyond recognition. You really, I mean, you really have to work at it to burn a body beyond recognition, just so you know. All right? There was a house fire that I worked that the person was burned beyond recognition, but never a car fire. But anyway, here it is. Was found burned beyond recognition inside his charred Tesla after get this, Aaron, and a fiery single vehicle crash in rural Alabama. Nobody else involved. He just crashed out, burned, burned alive, or died and then burned beyond recognition, all alone. Huh? It's strange, isn't it? Very strange, isn't it?
Coincidence. According
to recognition beyond charred Tesla after a fiery single crash in rural Alabama last July. According to Fox News, Joshua LeBlanc was a rising star in NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, the heart of America's space and defense rocket programs. He specialized in nuclear propulsion technology, serving as a team lead at 25. It started at 25 for NASA's space nuclear propulsion, instrumentation and control maturation, and later on the high-stakes demonstration rocket for agile cislunar Operation Strago project, a nuclear thermal, it's hard to read, propulsion engine designed to revolutionize travel to Mars and beyond. And like the real conspiracy behind this is if this technology is actually unleashed, it ruins many people's industries around the globe. Okay, a lot of problems that you have now will be ended. Like, maybe you won't need electricity anymore the way that it's currently done. Maybe you won't need fuel anymore the way that it's currently done. So you know what? If you're gonna cause me to lose my multi-billion or trillion-dollar industry, BlackRock, Vanguard, somebody's got to die.
Yep.
LeBlanc's Tesla Model 3 was discovered burned beyond recognition around 2:45 on July 22nd, 2025. I don't know why this is coming out now. After veering off the road, slamming into a guardrail all alone by himself. You know how often people just veer off the road and slam into a guardrail all alone.
All the time.
I mean, come on, it happens all the time. I mean, it's just, come on. It's just, I mean, it's the same as like a bird hitting your windshield. It happens all the time, right? And several trees on Hill Road near Drum and Switch Cut off road in Walker County after 2 hours, about 2 hours from his Huntsville home. The Alabama law enforcement agency confirmed the vehicle erupted in flames, leaving little for investigators to work with. Oh, that's strange, isn't it?
Bummer.
But here's where the story gets even more troubling and raises serious red flags about potential foul play or a major cover-up. LeBlanc's family reported him missing at 4:32 a.m. that same day after he uncharacteristically failed to show up for work. His blue 2021 Tesla Model 3 had been tracked sitting for 4 hours at the Huntsville International Airport, just minutes from his apartment before it headed out on rural back roads. You know, everyone's, I mean, you do it all the time, don't you? You go sit in an airport for 4 hours, and then you get into a car and you just drive around back roads and don't go to work. Right? And Aaron, you do that all the time, don't you?
All the time.
Will, you do that, right? You mean you sit at an airport
daily
for hours, for 4 hours. You sit there.
People watch.
And then, you just sit there. And then people watch, as Will just said. And then you get in your car and you drive around country back roads and then slam into a guardrail all alone and burn beyond recognition.
Right.
That happens all the time, right? Of course. Last known communication was early that morning. The body inside the vehicle was so badly burned that identification had to be confirmed through forensic scientists. The family of Joshua LeBlanc, a new Iberia native and NASA electrical engineer, is searching for answers after his car was found abandoned and burned beyond recognition. LeBlanc, 29, was reported missing earlier. I guess they're going back in time or whatever this week or whatever. So, I don't understand necessarily the dates here and how this is all coming out today. But anyway, to see this came out today. So I don't know why the information's coming out today when this all occurred. Looks like a year ago, more than a year ago, or coming close to a year ago. But anyway, just another one. Here it is. I guess it's confirmation that he's no longer missing somehow, and that this is now confirmed that he's dead. And this is a long list, folks, of high-ranking jet propulsion, UFO-centered people. Because here's the thing. I don't believe when you see the UFOs, that I believe, by the way, I believe those are unidentified flying objects that have been videoed, if you want to call it that, from our pilots and things like that. But I don't believe that there are Martians on there. Take me to your leader. I don't believe any of that. It's not in the Bible, so it ain't there. So there's not going to be a Martian invasion. There'll be a Jesus Christ coming back, but not a Martian invasion. But anyway, but what I do believe is that it is propulsion systems that nobody knows about. That's what I do believe. And those propulsion systems could ruin a lot of people's businesses. I mean, if you could actually if you think about it, if Will decides, you know what, I want to go to Japan and he could be there in an hour, that would take it would ruin United. It would ruin what's most dangerous. It would ruin the military industrial complex owned by Aaron
BlackRock.
There you go. Ruin it. Can't have that, right? Can't have that. You can go back in history and find all the different deaths of scientists who discovered something that was going to destroy a mainline industry. So there's another one for you. Here's an interesting side story here that I'm just going to read to you. Colin Rugg put this out. Breaking, the DOJ has arrested a Special Forces soldier who made $400,000 betting on the removal of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, according to ABC. So you had a Special Forces soldier, knowing that you're going to have that strike on Maduro's residence, and he was going to be, basically, kidnapped. And I believe in this whole thing, by the way, Monroe Doctrine. But anyway, so this Special Forces soldier knew that. Now I want you to keep this in the back of your mind because I'm going to illustrate. I'm going to make a bigger point with this. So the Special Forces soldier, run again by our elitist standards, by our establishment DC swamp standards, a normal everyday American Walmart person, you and me, right? Special Forces, fine, but he's still getting paid hardly anything. All right. So he's a smelly Walmart shopper like the rest of us, right? Federal investigators say that, but he knew about the raid long in advance, and then he went and bet on it in Las Vegas. Truth, by the way. Federal investigators say the soldier bet more than $33,000 just hours before Trump announced Maduro's capture. The Special Forces soldier was reportedly directly involved with the capture. So he's like over there. And he went, so he knows right before, basically, I'm just making this part up, but I'm just for fun. So right before he gets on the helicopter, he drops a bet that Maduro's going to go down in Vegas. This is all true, by the way. It's ABC News. The largest position, a $32,537 bet that Maduro would be out of office by January 31st, resulted in a 1,242% profit. He made $404,000 on this bet. Following his successful trading relating to Maduro and the Venezuela-related contracts, Gannon Van Dyke, that's the man's name, allegedly sent most of his proceeds to a foreign cryptocurrency vault before depositing them into a newly created online brokerage account. The same day of the operation, Van Dyke withdrew the majority of his allegedly unlawful proceeds from his Polymarket account, the DOJ announced. Van Dyke, 38, of Fayetteville, North Carolina, is charged with 3 counts of violating the Commodity Exchange Act. That would be what? Insider trading.
Oh.
You see, you already know the bigger point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each of which carries a maximum sentence of 10 years, but Nancy Pelosi does it all the time and no problem whatsoever.
Yep.
This is exactly what Nancy Pelosi does. This is exactly what Ro Khanna does. This is what they all do. They know where the money's going to be spent before it's spent, and they take their own personal money and invest it right there where they know the money's going to be spent. That's what they do. Why is he going to prison? Why is he going to 10 years per count? He's going to prison, which, by the way, I think he should.
He should have his wife do it for him.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, man, that's great, Will. That might be the point of the night. Seriously. 43 minutes in, that's better than any point that I've made. Sure, I'm not joking. That's the best point made tonight. That's what he should have done. That's a great point. Yeah. And by the way, Will's right, but they're not always doing that either. It's not always their wives that are doing it.
Right.
They're doing it. Again, and I know I said it 500 times last night, but everybody needs to know what our country's all about. What our country all about is not the Iwo Jima Memorial, the Washington Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, the Constitution, the Federalist Papers, a federalist, capitalistic, constitutional republic. That's not what we're all about. What we're about are a bunch of disgusting, repulsive human beings in establishment D.C. that goes 95% Democrat. And what they do, and then the compliant, collaborating Republicans, which are basically everybody in D.C., they invest in the areas of government that they regulate. They know where the money's going. They take their personal finances. They know months and months and months before anybody else. that the military is going to invest $100 billion in electric vehicles, so they take their personal money, as Will said, oftentimes using their spouses to do it, and then they invest where the government money's going. And they don't go to prison ever. Ro Khanna made $59 million last year. $59 million on a $174,000 salary. Can you explain that to me? How Nancy Pelosi is worth $300 million? Can anybody explain that to me? Where she has a freezer totally dedicated to ice cream only? I mean, again, it just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Absolutely no sense whatsoever at all. All right, Breitbart News next.
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. So this is wonky. It's a 4-minute video. I've got to show it to you though, because it's from Breitbart News. And this is Nick Fuentes. It's Nick Freitas. But anyway, this is an explanation of what happened in Virginia. I had no idea, which, by the way, it appears now I believe we could very easily win in court with this. But here's the explanation. Play it for me.
Texas didn't violate the law when they decided to redistrict. Oklahoma didn't violate the law when they decided to redistrict. Virginia did. And here's what I mean by that. For those of you who don't know, in Virginia, whenever you try to change the Constitution, because, oh, by the way, in 2020, we voted on a ballot referendum, just like the one that just got voted on. We voted on it to say we no longer want politicians drawing the lines. And 65% of Virginians voted to say we want an independent or a quasi-independent commission to draw the line. So that's what we did. And the lines that were given to us were lines that probably slightly favored Democrats, but overall they weren't horrible. They weren't bad. Right? And again, it wasn't politicians drawing all the lines. And then you fast forward, and now Democrats are saying, no, now that we're in charge, we want to change it back, and we want to draw the lines, and we want to make Virginia the worst gerrymandered state in the country. Well, if you want to do that, you could. And here's what you would have done. During the normal legislative session, you would have submitted a resolution, a joint resolution, in order to offer a ballot referendum. And then that would have passed the House, it would have passed the Senate, and if it passed both bodies, then what would have happened is you would have had an intervening election, and then after that intervening election, you would have taken the exact same resolution with the exact same language, passed through the House, passed through the Senate, and then it would have gone to a ballot referendum that would have showed up on the ballot in November. That's what would have happened. So is that what happened this time? No, they didn't submit this during regular session. They actually called a special session, or they pulled us back into a special session, and they submitted this legislation, this resolution. Now, you could argue, well, okay, is that still within their purview? It would have been shady, but theoretically, yeah, you could have legally justified that, except for the fact that we had already started voting in that intervening election, which is supposed to take place between the resolution initially passing the legislature and then being resubmitted the following year. Over 1 million Virginians had already voted in the intervening election. I'm sorry, that's illegal. That's a violation. It was Democrats that said, we want to have 45 days of early voting. Republicans didn't say that. They did. And so we pointed out, it's like, okay, but the problem is you're supposed to have an election in between, and that election has already started. And they just said, no, it's election day. The whole reason you have an intervening election is so that citizens can be aware of what their legislature is trying to do with respect to changing the Constitution, and they can let their voices be heard if they don't like it. But if 1 million Virginians have already voted, you arguably have races that have already been decided. And so we pointed out this is a clear violation. They didn't care. We also pointed out that it is right there in Virginia law that the clerks of the court have to have 90 days before the intervening election to tell everybody what is going on. We were already within 90 days of the election when they decided to pass this. Another clear violation of Virginia law. And there was other things that were of concern as well. For instance, did you know that when you actually write the ballot question, you're supposed to use politically neutral language? You're not supposed to stack the deck in favor of one side or the other side. You're simply supposed to explain in very clear English what your legislation would do. But instead, they added this, hey, do you want to vote to restore fairness? So let me get this straight. Everybody who voted no voted against restoring fairness. You're not even, it is illegal to use that language. And yet they did it.
All right, so let's break this down. Here's how it works. So the way that you pass this shows you the immense corruption of the Democrats. And they're getting dimed out everywhere. I mean, they are absolutely corrupt. I mean, we could go through a long list and spend 3 hours on the long list of corruption, the collusion hoax, all the Trump lawsuits, civil, all the Trump prosecutions, this right here, and a myriad of other things too. But anyway, so this is how it has to work. According to Virginia, the Virginia Commonwealth Constitution, this is how it works. You have to have a regular legislative session. So in other words, it has to be during the normal time that they would have a legislative session. So when the Congress and the Senate are in session, that's regular time. This was not done during regular time, but I'll get to that in a minute. Then you pass, it's also deliciously bureaucratic. Then you pass the ballot referendum resolution that you want to get something on the ballot, right? Here's what we want to get on the ballot. Then you pass it. Then you have to have what's called an intervening election. After you've already voted and it's been passed, to have a ballot referendum resolution where you're going to put on the ballot redistricting, right? Or anything else you want to put. Because Spanberg wants to confiscate everybody's firearms too. So they could have that on there. So you pass it first, but then there has to be what they call an intervening election. If it's going to be a ballot referendum where you're going to put it on the ballot for the people to decide. It has to be an intervening election. Then you have to use the exact same language and repass it again after the intervening election. Then it goes on the ballot strictly in November. Was this in November?
No.
Oh, so it wasn't during a regular session, right? Was it? Here's what they did. They called a special session. So they've already violated. That's why we could actually win this in court. This could actually be won in court. And they submitted the ballot, they called a special session, and then submitted the ballot referendum resolution, which it did pass. It passed, right? So you have step one. It already doesn't work because it was a special session. But as Nick said in the video, maybe you could make that pass because general session, special session, maybe, but still violation of the law because it has to be in a regular session. So they already have strike one here. So then they pass it. But the problem was now you have to have your intervening election, right? But it has to be 90 days from the intervening election. Okay. But the problem was there was already an election going on when they passed this. So they already had 100 million people under Democratic Party policies who had early voted. None of us want early voting. None of us want to be able to vote for 45 days prior to an election, but they had. So they passed this while there was already an election going on. When you have to pass it, wait 90 days and then have an intervening election and then repass it again. But voting had already occurred in what they call their intervening election. 1 million had already voted. And then the Democrats' arguments were, well, none of those million, by the way, this is what they've said publicly. None of those million votes count. The only thing that counted was day of election votes. Now, they weren't voting on this referendum or anything, but they said, well, it still counts as an election because only thing that really matters is that the day of ballots, the day of voting did occur in the proper time frame. Right? So now suddenly Democrats are in favor of day-only voting. Amazing, isn't it? There has to be 90 days between the passage and the intervening election. That did not happen. And then politically, there has to be politically neutral language. That wasn't used. Do you want to restore fairness was used. So by the way, they're completely out. They don't have the intervening election. They called a special session. They didn't use politically neutral language. That's how Democrats work, by the way. Go to the next one for me. So let me just show you. Here's the gerrymandering that we're fighting against already. Remember, Hakeem Jeffries said, F around and find out. You started this. We started this with Texas in 2025. This has now been going on. This has been in place for decades, folks. You ever wonder how we never win anything ever? You look at the numbers here. Massachusetts is 36% Republican. Basically, let's summarize it all. We either are close to 40%, except for Vermont, where we're only at 32%. So we're either at 40% or 50% in all of these states. And we have no seats at all in Delaware, Hawaii, Vermont, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Maine, Connecticut, or Massachusetts. None. No seats. And I would just wonder how many seats are in each one of those states. Some of those have higher populations. I mean, Massachusetts is pretty high population. So, I mean, how many seats? We get 0 when we should have roughly about, let's be nice and say we should have 30 to 40% of those seats. But they're all of our seats are gerrymandered out of existence. That's why we never win. And we also don't win because we elect losers who want to lose on purpose so they can profit off of it. The Republicans I'm talking about. This is why it was so critical. This is why it was so critical that we won in Virginia. But the RNC, Chris LaCivita, would rather spend, we have $808 million in the bank. We spent nothing to win Virginia because none of the Republicans actually want to win because they profit off of losing. That's the truth, by the way. And I could spend a half an hour on how they profit off losing, but I'm not going to do that to you right now because you've already heard it. But anyway, let me show you this one. Eric Doherty video. Holy smokes, 29 states are hiding voter roll data from the Trump DOJ. Play it for me.
Justice Department suing 29 states and Washington, D.C., saying they're refusing to turn over voter roll data to federal investigators.
We're doing that to make sure that states are in compliance. And guess what? We found at least 350,000 dead people currently on the voter rolls in those jurisdictions. And we've referred approximately 25,000 people with no citizenship records to the to Homeland Security to look at, dig into that further and see the extent to which people voted.
Meanwhile,
as you can bring it back, this is only the beginning. So here we go. I mean, look, 29 states. That's all. I mean, we have 50.
Right.
It's 29 states. I mean, come on. I mean, come on. There's another 21 states on top of that. I mean, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, more than half the country is hiding voter roll data from the Trump DOJ. There, Aaron, can you side by side that? So there it is. These are the states that are hiding it. Can you explain to me why Utah is hiding it? And by the way, Utah, we should have gained more seats than we did via our gerrymandering, but somehow we didn't. As a matter of fact, I think we lost one somehow. But anyway, so Utah needs to be investigated. But look, it's very strange that almost every single, basically, statistically speaking, every single one of these, you got Kentucky as an exception, but that's run by Andy Beshear, so of course they're doing it. Look at some Pennsylvania's purple. West Virginia, I have no idea why. But anyway, so basically all of these states are Democrat. So I would basically say 26 out of 29 are firmly Democrat. The others are purple or run by idiots. But anyway, so 29 states are hiding voter roll data. Why would you hide voter roll data if you have nothing to hide? I'm just curious. I mean, why would you do that? I mean, why would you hide your voter roll data if you have nothing to hide? It's like I ask a husband, why doesn't your wife have your password to your phone? Why? Why would she not have a password to all your devices? Why would that be if you have nothing to hide? You know what I'm saying? That's the whole thing. Which already, just reading from Eric Doherty, which has already found, Trump DOJ has already found 350,000 dead people on the rolls in multiple jurisdictions. The Virginia race was won by 88,000 votes. Harmeet Dillon has referred 25,000 people with no citizenship records, so that's on top of the 350,000, with no citizen records to the DOJ, to the DHS, to see if and when they voted. So according to Democrats, no illegal ever votes, but we've already found 25,000 that have voted. And we know that means millions have voted. We already know that. So again, this is how we lose elections. It's all corrupt. Everything's a lie. It really is. It's how it is. And until we elect true people like you and I have to be in there. You can't even have J.D. Vance, folks. You can't have Byron Donalds here in Florida. None of them ever do what needs to be done. None of them. You have to have legit fire breathers. Ken Paxton was destroyed by the Democrats. They tried to criminally prosecute him because he actually stands. That's why, and again, I don't know what will happen if he makes it to D.C. He might end up being corrupted. Ron Johnson nearly lost his election because he was willing to say the vaccines were killing people. You have to have people like that. We cannot have any more people who personally profit and go along to get along to continue to personally profit. All right, let's go to the next one. And it all is all about that. I won't do it to you again. That's what it's all about. All right, Dinesh D'Souza. I'm not a big Dinesh D'Souza fan because he was a major COVID whore, but I did like this statement put out today. Or is today the 22nd or 21st?
23rd.
23rd. Oh, wow. I thought so. Okay, 2 days ago. If you say Haiti is a hellhole, the left says, how dare you say that? This is just a great summarization of how Democrats think. How dare you, if you say Haiti's a hellhole, the left will say, how dare you say that? Haiti is a beautiful country. If you say Haitian illegals need to go back home, the left says, how dare you? We would be sending them back to a life of misery, hardship, and death. So the left, if you say we're going to send it back, then the left says that it's a hellhole. It's just like Hakeem Jeffries. You can't gerrymander. You can't dummy mander Ron DeSantis. And right off of the election where they turned Virginia from a 6-5 Democrat to Republican districting to a 10-1. That's how Democrats are. They're just, and you and I, our conscience, right out of Romans 1:18 through 32. No, even people who aren't saved, they have a conscience given to them by God. You and I could not do that. We couldn't go up and say, I'm anti-gerrymandering as you are espousing and promoting gerrymandering. You and I couldn't do it, but the left can. That's who we're dealing with. All right, so anyway, so back to the border. That's what I'm talking about. Here's the border. Owen Schroyer video. These are all over the place. Aaron sent one or both of these in. Well, I know you sent at least one of these in. These are going viral, just side by side. These are going viral all over the country right now. This shows you where our illegal immigration is. Starting, hey, Aaron, roll it all the way, or Will, who's ever controlling it, roll it all the way back to the beginning. And let me get the beginning date. Did it start in 2020?
Yeah.
Okay, starting in 2020. So how many do we have before 2020?
Right.
So this is just the last, I think this goes for 5 years. This is how many people came in the country. Each red dot, Aaron, can you read it? Each red dot represents, I can't remember what it was, but anyway.
It's 100 people.
Each red dot represents 100 people. That's how many people are coming into our country, folks. It doesn't stop. There you go. So it's just 4 years.
Yeah.
There you go. And that didn't stop until Trump took office. All right, let's go to the next one. And wokeness video. Here's the European Union. Aaron, can you read how much each dot represents?
100.
People? Okay, each dot represents 100 people on this video. Play it for me. Here you go. Look at this. That's not an invasion? Look at that. Up to, just hit 7 million, 8 million, 9 million, 10 million, 11 million, 12 million people from 2009 to I think it stopped at 2024, 2025. So that just shows you, that shows the reality. That's like when you're talking about the national debt. We don't really comprehend that level of numbers. I mean, $188 trillion worth of unfunded liabilities. This is how bad it is. Now, let me show you this. Let's go to this one. Peter St. Ange video. And this is why, Europe's welfare state is imploding. This is why it's imploding. Play it for me.
The European welfare state is imploding. It turns out extortionate taxes, regulatory straitjackets, replacing coal with pixie farts, and importing the third world do not, in fact, make your country rich. European voters are starting to notice. Last week, the Irish government barely survived a vote of no confidence after nationwide protests that blocked major Irish cities and which 56% of voters supported. The spark was diesel prices up 20% since the Iran war, but they kept going even after the government paused diesel taxes, which our Congress has not done, because the real anger was rising food prices and downright comical housing costs. Rents in Dublin now consume half of paychecks, roughly double the rate in the U.S., largely driven by mass migration to Ireland, so now Dublin is nearly 1/3 foreign-born. For a 20-something, it means they're taking home less than 3,000 euros a month and spending almost 2,000 on a studio apartment. A recent house sale in Dublin made international news as hundreds of people lined up for blocks to buy for a completely normal brick house. One recent study found 1.3 million people in Ireland want a house. It's about a quarter of the population, which at current rates of construction is roughly 40 years of construction. By amazing coincidence, 1.3 million also happens to be the foreign-born population of Ireland. Next up is Britain, which last week announced welfare payments now exceed income tax receipts for the first time in history, also driven by soaring migrant payments. In one hilarious clip, the BBC interviewed a black Londoner hoping to get a juicy quote about cruel welfare cuts. Instead, he went off how he works hard and takes home $1,600 a month, but his buddy sits on the couch and makes $1,400, and he's had enough of it. And then Germany, who's supposed to be the adult in the room, the Bundesbank, Germany's Federal Reserve, released a new report warning of a, quote, debt spiral, with federal debt jumping nearly $1 trillion in U.S. GDP terms. That's a problem given the German economy is limping along at 0.3% growth, roughly 7 to 10 times slower than the U.S. If debt's jumping by $1 trillion and the economy is not, you are living on borrowed time. So what's driving all this? An empire of tax and red tape that killed Europe's golden goose, taking growth to Japan levels. paired with importing at least 15 million third world migrants, of whom roughly 80% go on government welfare. A recent Dutch study estimated mass migration costs $500 billion in U.S. GDP terms. That is $10 trillion over the next 20 years in U.S. terms. So what's next? European voters are waking up. A poll last week found Germany's right populist AfD is now the largest party in the country by a significant margin. Britain's right populist parties, Reform and Restore, now outpoll both major parties combined. According to prediction market Kalshi, Reform is by far the most likely to form the next British government at 41% versus 24% for Labour and 13% for the traditional Tory Conservatives. What's interesting about Europe is, unlike America's intentionally sclerotic political system, where Obama judges and the filibuster block anything that bothers the establishment, Europe has parliamentary systems with much more power for whoever wins the election. This means when European voters' patience runs out, the pendulum will swing much harder.
I mean, did you hear those numbers? You look in Dublin, Ireland, 1/3 of the population in Dublin is foreign-born. 1/3. 33% of your population. Why? They've allowed 15 million in the European Union. 15 million, we just played it with all the dots, 15 million migrants into the European Union. 80% of those migrants, 80%, just like in the United States, are on welfare. Still on welfare. They've been let in over the years. They're still on welfare because they're low IQ inbred Muslims. That's why. See, people can claim I'm anti-Israel all you want. You know, I'm not anti-Israel. You know, I'm just Israel honest, and I'm Muslim honest. I mean, vehemently, listen, I'm anti-Islam. I'm anti-Judaism because both religions send people to hell.
Yep.
You're not saved. There's no blood of Jesus. Without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sin. But anyway, so you just look at that. 80% of the 15 million that all these white people have allowed in. Why would they allow them in? Because they're personally profiting off of it. Same story every time. They're personally profiting off of it. Whether you had Ursula von der Leyen personally profiting off of the vaccines. She personally profited off of the vaccines because her husband runs a company who's a subcontractor for Pfizer. She herself personally profited off of requiring vaccinations and vaccine passports. It's always that way, folks. They personally profit off of it by running, they're 80% on welfare. I'll illustrate how it works right here again. 80% of these people that these white people are allowing in, right, are on welfare, correct? Correct.
Yep.
So they run now, all these white people and their families and their spouses and their attorneys run the NGOs that feed the 80% of the migrant population that's on welfare. That's billions and hundreds of billions of dollars that are going to the white people who opened up the floodgates. That all make sense, Aaron?
Yeah.
That's it. Life is easy. They're simply getting the money off of, it's like Gavin Newsom in California. His wife gets NGO money. That's why they're so rich. You want a homeless problem in California because you have all these NGOs that get the government money that Nancy Pelosi invests in. So what happens is you get, just say 5th Street Avenue Homeless Shelter, and they get $10 million a year, right? And they're part of a corporate entity called Homelessness Future. Nancy Pelosi finds out that $30 billion is going to this. So she calls Paul and says, Paul, invest. Exact same thing is happening in the EU. These people are getting rich off of it. They find out we're going to have a whole bunch of homeless and non-indigenous homeless Muslims. We need to set up these 501c3 corporations and then send billions and hundreds of billions of dollars of taxpayer dollars to them. And right before that taxpayer dollar gets there, I'm going to invest in those corporations. It's exactly what's happening, folks. That's why the Pope hates Donald Trump. Why does the Pope hate Donald Trump? Because they were receiving hundreds of billions of dollars to facilitate illegals across our southern border under Catholic Family Services. Who is the other big entity doing it? Jewish Family Services. Weird, isn't it? Very odd. And now we're fighting another war for Israel. Weird. Same people profiting off of the southern border. Jewish Family Services are profiting off of the Iran war. And people and MAGA people are too dumb to realize it. Since Trump did it, has to be right. If Trump opened the southern border, would it be right? All the MAGA morons would say it was right. I voted for Trump 3 times. I'm telling you, they would. I mean, it makes me, they're disgusting. If Trump opened the southern border, or if Trump reversed what he did with Roe v. Wade, they would all say that was right.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And they forget that they all said that he was wrong with Operation Warp Speed, and they don't talk about it anymore. But anyway, you had it in Ireland, since I'm Irish German, hundreds of people lined up to buy one house. That's how bad it is. This is probably the most cogent point that Peter St. Onge made. So 1.3 million Irish people need homes. 1.3 million. It's not a very large country. That would be the equivalent of 70 or 80 million needing it here. So 1.3 million people need houses and nobody can get them. And it's very weird that that's the exact same number of illegal immigrants they've allowed in the country. So the 1.3 million illegals they allowed in the country pushed 1.3 million Irish people out of their futures and out of their homes. Well, at least we don't have a problem here. Go to the next one for me. Anchor babies reach 10% of all U.S. births.
Yay.
Remember, this is what, again, the greatness of Trump is trying to get rid of birthright citizenship. The greatness of Trump. And he's responding to this. And he wrote, I mean, it was too long to even read. He wrote a Truth Social post that was all about birthright citizenship. But here we are. 10% of all of our births now are birthed to illegals. They're anchor babies. They're birthed to illegals. And now what happens is that person is now called a dreamer because these illegals had sex in their own country, got pregnant, made sure they languished, including the Chinese, who do it about 100,000 times a year. Then they'll come in, have their babies here. It's even worse for the Chinese because they actually hire United States surrogates to do it. So they have their anchor baby, and they'll probably use that as legal leverage to stay in the country even longer. All right, we're going to skip to Nicholas Holscher. Can you do that for me?
Yes,
skip
sir.
right to Nicholas Holscher. I got to show you this before we go. Love this guy, Nicholas Holscher. We found 84% of cancer patients taking ivermectin and this is going to be tough for me to pronounce, mebendazole, something like that, for 6 months declared their cancer was either completely gone, regressed, or stopped spreading. Play it for me.
It was the largest human observational study on ivermectin, mebendazole, and cancer. We had like 200 cancer patients. And what we found was after 6 months, 84.4% of them reported to have benefited in their cancer treatments. About half either their cancers disappeared, they had no evidence of disease, or their tumors shrank. And again, that is half of this entire cohort. And then 36% reported their cancer stabilized. It wasn't spreading anymore. And so that's very promising. So if we see that in active cancer, we would suspect it would prevent cancers because in the preclinical studies in the rats and in the test tube, the ivermectin and mebendazole have over 14 distinct anti-cancer mechanisms. So it attacks cancer across a variety of ways, not just a single one, like, say, chemo, for example.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. The CIA 50 years ago knew that there was evidence that taking an anti-parasitic like ivermectin could reduce tumors, and they classified it and hid it?
Correct. It was a Soviet study. These Soviet scientists found that both tumors and parasites and these anti-parasitics exerted similar mechanisms, and they found that it exerted anti-cancer activity in animals. And that study was classified by the CIA in the 50s and not declassified until 2011. So, that did significantly set back some of this vital cancer research.
So there you go. Basically, you're finding out that ivermectin has this great, is very virulent towards cancer. Like it basically wipes out a lot of cancer. And found 84%. Now, Nicholas Holscher, right there, you saw what sign he was standing in front of. That's the McCullough Foundation, Dr. Peter McCullough. So not only was ivermectin a COVID cure, but it's also appearing to be at least a pseudo or possible cancer cure, or cancer cure to various percentages, and high percentages of that. And it was hidden from us. This sounds eerily familiar, does it not? Again, if it's going to destroy a I don't know, Rothschild, who Who ran the whole petroleum thing? Was it Rothschild? Who else was it? I can't remember. But anyway, who started the whole American Medical Association using petroleum products? Who is that? If you know, throw it in the chat.
Rockefeller.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yep.
So Rockefeller. If you're gonna actually find a pill that costs 10 cents a pill, that will actually eradicate tumors instead of people having to spend $100,000 on chemo. But you know what? I would rather profit than have people live.
Right.
That is really the state of the United States government. That was classified by our government. The same exact CIA that was formed in 1913 with the central bank and with the FBI and with income tax. Absolutely disgusting. We were a great country right until 1913. And then it went precipitously downhill, and it's up to us to take it back. All right, 10:14, that's good. Aaron, what do we got on the rant?
We got 7 rants.
Wow, 7 rants tonight. Awesome.
Robin Aroni donated $5. See you Friday on Instagram. In person Sunday at Foundation. Have a great weekend, TLP crew. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Robin Aroni. Love you. See you on all those days. Really appreciate you.
CA1960 donated $5. Thanks for the truth.
As always, CA1960. Love you, man. Appreciate it. Go to the next one.
DebPow50 donated $10. Thank you, Pastor Tom and TLP team. Love this podcast. Friday Bible Study, and Foundation Church.
Thank you, Dead Pal Fitty. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Cattle1960 donated $5. I have been with Foundation Church almost 5 years.
Oh, wow. Make sure you're I think you have, and it's hard for me to remember, but reintroduce yourself to me one more time, and I'll have it in my head. Like, I've got Robin Aroni down. I got Jules 21 Hours down. I've got several of you guys down. Introduce yourself to me one more time so I know you are. Make sure I got you. Love you, man. Appreciate it. Go to the next one for me.
Jules 21 Hours donated $10. Big prayers answered tonight regarding some work issues. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, Jules, you sent me the information about the camera stuff. I didn't get it. I mean, I got the information, but I didn't understand it. So me and you got to talk in person. You can explain it to me. But anyway, great. I love you. You're awesome. Real warrior, standing up for what's right. Love you. Appreciate you. Go to the next one, Aaron.
Charlie340 donated $50. Keep the
truth flowing. Thank you so much. $50. Appreciate it. We will. We'll do it, Charlie340. Thank you so much for the huge rant. Go to the next one for me.
Last one.
DC941 donated
huge
$100.
rant. Thank you so much.
This podcast has been going years without letting off the gas. That's rare. Grateful for you, Pastor and team. God bless the Patriots speaking truth.
Yeah, thank you so much for that huge rant. I mean, we dropped like 70 people here at the end of the podcast. I don't know what I said. I must have said something that was bad, but anyway. No, I'm never going to do that. If it gets to the place where I have no audience, I have no audience, but I'm always going to speak that which is true. And I love you guys. I love you guys that are hanging with me. And, just responding to that 5-letter word called facts. But anyway, love you guys. Again, tomorrow night's Instagram only, 8 o'clock. Log on. It's all Bible all the time. Basically, no politics. If there's any politics, you just get banned off Instagram. But listen, I like to do stuff that's outside the realm of politics. Politics doesn't solve anything. It's fun to talk about. It needs to be a part of our life. We need to vote correctly. We need to participate. But what actually solves things is Jesus and the power of the Holy Ghost. That's what actually solves things and changes countries. But anyway, so tomorrow night, log on, get your Instagram account, 8 o'clock live. We're going to interact a lot tomorrow night, talking about spiritual warfare tomorrow night. So be there. Make sure you're there. It'll be great. And it's just be more facts coming right out of the Bible. Stick around for the post game. It is awesome. I'll either see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, see you Sunday morning at Foundation Church, either in person or online. I love you guys. Stick around for the post game. It's awesome. God bless you.
Stranger.
And 30 years to the day from the show's first episode, the Mets would like to welcome New York's very own Jerry Seinfeld. Our ceremonial catcher is Wilson Ramos. Jerry, it's your pitch. Ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Seinfeld.
Hey, Tucker, are you ready to open the pool? I got the towels. Guys, listen. Do you guys want to swim in? You guys ready? All right, here we go. Be careful.
Cook him, chef. Good puppy. Good puppy. Good puppy.
Here is the representative, Ilhan Omar. Today we're here in the fraud capital of America. We're here in Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. Here you have some of the best stock traders and top fraudsters like Ilhan Omar. Right now, we're going to give her a new hoodie. She took the last Leering Center hoodie. We have a new one asking, where did our tax dollars go? And we want to see if she'll become a member of the Anti-Fraud Taxpayer Club. Now we've made it to Ilhan Omar's office. Here is the representative, Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. There it says, abolish ICE. I think we should abolish fraud here inside the United States. Let's see if they'll take the hoodie. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing? Is Ilhan here by chance?
No.
No, she's not. Well, we wanted to see if she'd become a member of the Anti-Fraud Taxpayer Club. We actually have a new hoodie for her right here. And we were just wondering if you could deliver this to Ilhan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And tell her that we wish to abolish fraud here inside the United States as well.
All right, thank you.
Will you do that? And also, I met this really cute British girl, and she wanted citizenship, and I was wondering like how that would work out. All right, they're calling security. You guys, you can go ahead and become a member of Anti-Fraud Taxpayer Club. Go to antifraudclub.com. You can even cop yourself a hoodie. And now let's leave Capitol Hill.
This podcast is all about. We talk about a lot of political things, but underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of it is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.